A lot of African leaders have woken up to the reality that it's no longer an option to transform Africa through industrialization and trade.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Actually, we all gathered here over the last few days to discuss about regional integration and trade. But it's not so much about the need for regional integration. It is just a necessity. The debate is long gone. It's just now how should we press ahead to implement it. This is what we've been talking about over the last few days. I think this resonates very well with our leaders who indeed have realized that we have to go beyond the rhetorics of regional integration to implementation of regional integration.
And part of the solution is in plugging into regional markets and also into global markets to create value chains.
Yes, indeed. That's the issue. Our markets are fragmented, 54 African countries, fragmented, small. And we need economies of scale, we need larger markets. We need also to plug into regional and global value chains. The issue is not for us to produce an airplane, at least to produce one part of the airplane which can possibly sell to airplane companies. That's what it's about. That's the issue of value chains. Now, of course, that takes investments in infrastructure, which we really badly need, transport and energy. That also takes, beyond infrastructure, that takes issues of trade facilitation. It's not enough to build a road if you have to spend 4 hours or a day at the border clearing papers. You need also to facilitate that process to make sure that trade flows really flow from country to country without constraints. So.
To have real structural reforms take place within the continent itself. But how much are we progressing, or have we progressed when it comes to reforming industrial policy in Africa?
Well, progress has been uneven. There are areas in which we've made tremendous progress, definitely. I would say in terms of infrastructure, for example, we've made progress. We built roads here and there. We've also made progress in reducing tariffs, but we still have the non-tariff barriers really looming, and that's when we need to make serious progress. Industrialization is also very important. It actually is really linked to the issue of regional integration. If you do not have industrial policies within countries, we cannot talk about industrialization at regional level. So we have to start in these policies. And for these policies, started a few years ago. We stopped them some time ago, but I think it's just about time to jumpstart them again at earnest, actually. Countries like South Africa are paving the way for such policies. I'm sure countries like Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire are also good example of countries paving the way towards industrialization.
Africa is largely a commodity-based continent, and you mentioned South Africa taking the lead to some degree, and we are seeing that taking place in South Africa in terms of their beneficiation policies, which is a large part of the goal of achieving industrialization in mining.
I fully agree with you, but this is, we should think of it as a process. It's not a one-off type activity. It's a process which takes, of course, designing all the policies, which all takes the participation of the parties involved, including the private sector. It's not only policymakers. The private sector should also be involved in the design of these policies. But again, like I said, the tariff system right now is such that you can export goods, raw material, and paying zero tariff on it. Well, but if you export finished goods, then you have to pay taxes on it. This is also a disincentive, in my view, to go towards value-added industrialization. This is something we have to work on collectively, at country level, at the level of REX, and also at global level.
So in terms of private sector becoming more involved, you're saying they need to push more for reform in terms of how government should be incentivizing the private sector. And also talking about the private sector, Africa also needs to have a strong entrepreneurship coming through to be able to take up the challenges of industrialization.
Well, you're right. Of course, the private sector has to be involved because it's ultimately the engine of growth, and it's ultimately the engine of industrialization. They have to be party to the process of designing these policies. But at the same time, we need to discuss at global fora, and African voices have to be heard at global fora, where we talk about these issues at UNTAG, at the World Bank, at the UN, at all the fora that these issues are discussed. And I think the African development is also poised basically to bring these discussions at that level.
Challenge is directing investment to the appropriate industries in Africa.
I think one thing is basically having all the policies in place. The other thing is implementing them, and implementing them knowing fully well where we want to go. Now we are competing, also we are in a global market where we have a lot of actors. It is important that we really know what our competitive advantages are. And we have quite a few. I mean, like I said, besides the raw material, we also have a competitive advantage in services. We tend to forget services. This is an area where we also have a competitive advantage and where we can really make a difference. Now, of course, we have all the raw materials, mining sector, agricultural sector, but these have to be transformed. This has to be transformed in a way that makes it possible for our products to reach this developed market or bigger markets. Why shouldn't we basically produce to sell our things in China? Why shouldn't we do it to compete in the European market? Of course, as I said, the issue of non-tariff and tariff is also very important. I mean, we should fight very hard to make sure that our finished goods are not taxed very high in markets like in Europe and in Asia. This is a fight, this is a collective fight, and we should all move towards that.
Now, Africa is lucky in the sense that it's regarded as the new growth frontier and the new Asia, and which is why we're still getting a good piece of the global investment pie. But also the challenge is to address political stability, and this issue should also take prominence in discussions around industrialization and trade.
Well, political stability is very important, and security, for that matter, is also very important. Without political stability, without security, businessmen will not have a perfect foresight. They need to have a clear vision before they invest. So it is important that this issue be tackled. Of course, it can only be tackled at local level, I mean, through electoral processes, also providing resources to have security. And what's the point, in my view, in having investments in roads or energy if there's insecurity in the region or in the country is not going to make it possible to use these resources? It is because of it. It's very important, that's what I meant. This is a very key issue, but that takes also time. We've made tremendous progress. I mean, the number of fragile states, of countries in conflict have reduced drastically over the last few years. This is already a positive step. And I'm sure as we make progress in economic management, as we make progress in the quality of growth, in terms of distribution of growth, the issue of political stability and security will definitely be reduced to a bare minimum.
And I think when we are discussing the opportunities in Africa, we also need to take a step back and reflect just how much the depth of resources available on the continent has already contributed to industrialization. Africa has become, to a certain degree, industrialized because of mining, because of gold, because of diamonds that is available.
Yes, they have definitely contributed to that.
We're taking it to the next step and opening up value chains.
It's we have to go beyond industrialization at the raw material level to increase our values in this raw material. Producing cocoa is fine, certainly, but we need to produce chocolate, and this is where the value added is. And we need to produce chocolate to sell it to China. We need to produce chocolate to sell it to Europe. That's the next challenge, and we need to produce quality chocolate naturally. That's where the challenge is.
Thank you so much for your time.
It's me. Thank you.